Top 5 things that you have to know in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene and Augusta, Georgia. Number one, we had a ton of damage in our area. We were declared a natural disaster and had FEMA come in. We are actually still dealing with the after effects of the hurricane. There are still areas that don't have power. I still don't have internet. It took us just over a week to get our power back. But there are some areas that have been going on. We're after 2 weeks of from the hurricane, and still no power in some areas. The power people are working day and night. They're really busting their butts to try and get power everywhere, but it's just so extensive, and the area is such a huge area. It's not just Augusta, but the outskirts of Augusta that were also hit. So a lot of damage. But one of the things that you must know before moving here is that we actually did have a ton of damage in our area. We had a ton of trees that came down, a lot of them hitting houses, some houses that were totaled, a lot more houses than you would think that were totaled that got hit by trees and just decimated. I'm going to have video clips throughout this video of some of the damage that was done in this area, and you'll see it's a lot. Our whole landscape has changed and will be forever changed. You can't plant enough trees to replace the trees that we've lost here. And you'll see I was sitting on the trunk, part of the trunk of one of the trees that hit our house. The first tree that hit our house, it was a Friday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. The winds woke us up because they were so loud and strong. And the first tree hit the back corner of my house. Super scary. I jumped out of bed, ran into the boys' bedrooms to check and make sure that they were okay. They were fine. And so I was walking through the house to see where that tree had hit because we felt it. So we knew it hit the house. And as I was walking into the kitchen, the second huge tree hit, and it crashed through our garage roof, caved the roof in. My car was under a pile of debris. I didn't think that it was going to be drivable. It is drivable. It just has a bunch of dents and scratches, but hey, it could have been way worse, so I can't complain. So the tree that hit and fell on top of the garage, we actually had to have a tree company with a crane come out and remove that tree. They stacked it up in the front yard, and FEMA has already come around and collected that tree. But we have more, as you can see, this pile of debris behind me. That was from the first tree that fell. But then we also have a ton of trees that fell. I say a ton, but I think 4 trees that fell from the neighbor's yard onto our fence. All of the trees that fell were from our neighbor's yard, which made me feel bad for them. They had trees fall on their house too, so it was pretty unfortunate. But yeah, you can still see all of this debris. The tree company is supposed to come back and get the rest of these trees from our backyard. But the precedents are the homes that have trees on top of them that people need to get off so they can tarp and minimize damage to the inside of their homes. So number one thing you need to know is if the homes that in the area that you're thinking about moving to in Augusta were affected by the storm. Did they have storm damage, and how extensive was that storm damage? It's going to be really, really important to work with a realtor in this process if you move to the Augusta area, because they're going to make sure that you get a seller's disclosure where the seller has disclosed all of the information, any insurance claims that they've had to do, what kind of work was done to the property, if it was damaged by the storm, if the roof was repaired, if it was replaced, if there was structural damage from the trees that fell. My sister-in-law's home had trees fall all over it, unfortunately, and the trees hit one area so many times. There were so many trees that hit that it actually shifted the home, and so they haven't had the adjuster come out yet. They're waiting on the adjuster to come out and assess everything, but we all have a feeling that that house is going to get totaled and they're going to have to completely rebuild that home. And that is not unusual. Unfortunately, there are so many homes that had trees fall on the homes that are probably going to end up being totaled. They're going to have to be raised and rebuilt. And unfortunately, there's some awful stories of some people who have paid for their homes already and then did not have homeowners insurance, and so I don't know that they'll be able to afford to build a new home. So there will be lots coming up, I'm sure, from people who either don't have the money to rebuild or who just don't want to be in that area anymore because of it. Now, we've never had a hurricane hit our area before. We're 2 hours from the coast, so that's really weird. And so I would venture to say it would be another, long time before we get any kind of severe damage like this ever again. I sure hope so anyway. The second thing that you guys need to really consider if you're thinking about moving to the Augusta, Georgia area is if the homes that you're looking at, if they were damaged by the storm, how extensive was that damage and who did the work? Was it a reputable company that did the repairs? Are they licensed, or were they just a general contractor? Was it the homeowner themselves that did the repair? These are all things that you're going to want to know. And for sure, you're going to want to have an inspection done, which is why you want to reach out to a realtor, me, or if you don't want to work with me, that's totally fine too, but just use a realtor, please, because they're going to make sure that you're protected. They're going to have contacts. They will have reputable inspectors. Not all inspectors are the same, I can tell you that. There are some inspectors that are very thorough and other inspectors that are not so thorough. So you want to make sure that you have a great inspector inspecting that home to make sure that whatever work has been done, if the home was damaged in the storm, was done correctly. The third thing that you're going to want to know is to make sure that you get a seller's disclosure on any of the properties that you're considering purchasing, because that seller's disclosure is going to tell you if they've had any insurance claims. It's going to tell you what damage was done, what repairs were done. They should be able to provide invoices for that work done. And if they did it themselves, you're going to want an inspector to make sure that that was done correctly, because there are some homeowners that are very handy and they can do things, but then there are also some homeowners that watch the DIY stuff on TV and on YouTube, and then they think that they know what they're doing, and they don't necessarily know what they're doing. And you don't want to end up buying a home that has had a do-it-yourselfer that doesn't know what they're doing repair some serious significant damages that should have been done by a licensed company that knows what they're doing. So really important, use a real estate agent. Even if it's not me, use someone, please. I'm begging you. I just want you to be protected. And that's the best way that you can ensure that protection. Someone that's been in the business for a while and they are doing it full time, so that they really know what they're talking about and know what they're doing. The fourth thing that you're going to want to know in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene in Augusta is what kind of damage was there? Was it water damage? Because we did have some flooding in some areas of the Augusta area. And so you're going to want to know, was that remediated? Was there mold? What all did that flooding affect? And was it taken care of properly? Was there damage to the roof? How extensive was that damage to the roof? Did the whole roof have to be replaced? Or was it just a part of the roof that was replaced? And was it done by a reputable roofing company? The next thing you want to know is, was there structural damage? Because some of these trees were really huge old trees, and you don't want to have structural issues in a home. Now, I can tell you personally, I know some structural engineers here locally. They don't do any of the work. They literally just look at the home and tell you whether or not there is structural damage. And that is what you want. You don't want a structural, a foundation company. Foundation company, they are in business to make money. And so there are some companies who will tell you that there are issues with the structure when in fact there are not issues with the structure. So you want to make sure you're using reputable people. I know a lot of reputable people in the area, and again, I recommend a structural engineer to tell you whether or not there's structural damage, and if there is, they can tell you what needs to be addressed, and then you can contact the foundation company and tell them what it is that you want to have addressed, so that you're not overpaying or having too much work done that doesn't need to be done. Or not you, I should say, the seller, if there is something to be done. The fifth thing that you want to know is, was that home totaled, and is it a new build in an established neighborhood? We're going to be seeing a lot of that in the next year or two, where homes that were totaled in Hurricane Helene end up being raised in some, lots of neighborhoods, prominent neighborhoods, desirable neighborhoods, neighborhoods in great locations that wouldn't otherwise have any kind of new construction happening. So you may be able to get the best of both worlds, get a brand new home in a well-established neighborhood that's in a great location, depending on where, a great location to some is not a great location to others, depending on where you work. If you work from home, it may not matter, but just depending on the area that you want to be in, whether it's directly in Augusta or if it's in the outskirts in Evans or Grovetown or Harlem or Martinez or North Augusta, South Carolina. All of these areas were affected by the hurricane, not just the Augusta proper area. So we have significant damages, unfortunately, all throughout the Central Savannah River area, the CSRA, and you're just going to want to know all of that information when you're moving here. And who better to ask than me? I know all about it. I love hearing from you guys. Please reach out to me, text me, email me, call me, just call me. I would love to talk to you about anything to do with the Augusta area, and if I can help in any way, I'm glad to. Even if you're just considering moving but you don't know for sure that you're coming, totally fine. Like, I'm glad to be the first stop and asking questions to see if this is even an area for you. I'm going to show some more of the damages that have been done in the area. You'll see cut trees that have been just stacked taller than I am. Tens of thousands, honestly, of stacks of trees that FEMA's going to have to come through and get from so many properties all in our area that were significantly damaged. One of the front gate girls in my group, the front gate group, actually two of them live on acreage. One of them lives on 5 acres. Her 5 acres, her home was secluded. She had a 100-foot weaving driveway, trees all around. When she first bought that property years ago, they had 100 trees removed that were really close to the house, 100 trees, and it was still very private. With this storm, you can see the overhead view of her home, and it just looks like the trees are matchsticks laying all around. It destroyed her wrought iron fence in the back. She has almost no privacy now. I mean, she can literally see into the Evans Industrial Park area, whereas before you had no idea that was right not too far from her house. So really disheartening. And then my other sweet friend Ashley, who's also in the front gate group with me, she also lived on acreage.